Welcome, everybody. My name is Peter Ryu, and I'm your host, also known as MortgageByRyu. And I'm with my guest, Keanna Mendoza from EXP Realty.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know we've been talking about getting on the air and talking about some real estate topics, and so it's great to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's get right into it, Keanna. So Keanna and I just recently met, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got your upbringing.
Well, I am originally from Seattle. I'm born and raised. My whole family's from Seattle. I spent a little bit of my childhood in North Capitol Hill. That's where my dad grew up. And then we moved to Beacon Hill. So that's where actually I grew up most of my life.
So born and raised.
Yes, Beacon Hill.
So that's great. Born and raised in Seattle. I'm similar, just different parts of Washington. But yeah, I grew up. I've always wanted to live outside of Seattle, but I've never had the opportunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you live outside of Seattle now, right?
Yeah, I live in Bellevue right now.
Okay.
But I grew up in Federal Way and Mill Creek.
Oh, okay. I have
Yeah.
family out in Federal Way.
Yeah.
And in Mill Creek, actually. My dad's side is like south, like in Federal Way, Kent area, and then my mom's side is like SellAHome-ish, Mill Creek.
Yeah, I just remember growing up, like the demographic was very different.
Very different.
We had a lot of minorities down in the south end.
Okay.
And then on the north end, it was a little bit more Caucasians. But it was, I learned a lot growing up, for both communities.
I mean, that's the same thing as Beacon Hill.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, Beacon Hill is known for like all the Asians.
Yeah.
And now it's, becoming more diverse, which I love to see. So.
Yeah, I feel like Beacon Hill, even a little bit of West Seattle, is getting gentrified.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to change. But I love Beacon Hill. It's just so close to everything. Downtown, the freeways, Soto, Georgetown, West Seattle.
Yeah. So have you always been a city girl? Like, have you ever wanted to live out, like, in the country or suburbs?
Oh, I'm a city girl. I love the city. I love spending time, like, not just, like, downtown, but, like, Capitol Hill, where, like, there's places to go dancing, listen to music. Yeah, I love the city.
I feel like Beacon Hill, West Seattle, there's a lot of culture, where I feel on the east side, Bellevue, a lot of the restaurants and coffee shops are more commercialized. What do you think?
I see West Seattle as like a bigger version of Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
But there's so much culture in both West Seattle and Beacon Hill. I mean, lots of restaurants, lots of like coffee shops. Yeah, it's just West Seattle has its own vibe. I actually work out in West Seattle.
Oh, you showed me the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a cool climbing wall.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the West Seattle Health Club. Shout out to Shauna. She's an amazing general manager out there. If you're watching this, she does a great job in running that place.
What's your favorite restaurant in West Seattle and in Beacon Hill?
Oh, well, in Beacon Hill, there's so many that I love. I mean, Baja Bistro, of course.
Oh, we got to give shout out to Baja Bistro. Taco Bada Tuesdays.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, they have some good Mexican food out there. Lots of Filipino restaurants. You have Shabog's.
Okay,
oh
I've never
my
tried that.
goodness, you have to. I gotta bring it out there. Like,
yeah.
I love fish. They have this like fried fish. I forget what it's called, but like tilapia, I think, with like garlic, fried rice. It's just so delicious.
Yeah.
They also have like musang. Musang is like I think they were James Beard nominated. Like a fancy Filipino restaurant in this like house. It was originally a house, like, but they converted it into a restaurant downstairs. So
that's cool.
It's definitely a vibe.
So what do you like to do for fun?
On my free time, I like to work out. I like to go dancing, listen to live music.
Any type of like particular genre for music and dance, or is it just anything?
Well, I like R&B.
Oh, I love R&B too.
I love R&B, soul music. I was last year in 2024, for a hot minute, I was going to this place called Cafe Racer. I'm so like sad that they closed down. This is bar in Capitol Hill, but every Thursday night they would play, like they would have this live band, and these singers just singing, and it was like a open mic, so they would invite people to sing, kind of like karaoke, but just kind of like on the spot. But these actual like singers would consistently show up and sing with the live bands, and they're great vocalists. So yeah, I like listening to live music, and R&B is my favorite.
Yeah. Do you know any 90s R&B? Because that's like kind of my forte.
I mean, I think they were singing like 90s R&B songs. Yeah, I think I have yet to find a place though that can match their level.
Got it.
in Seattle.
That's cool. Maybe there'll be a new one that opens up. Let's switch gears here. Let's talk a little business. Let's talk about real estate.
Okay.
So tell me about your career path into real estate. Like, how did you get into real estate?
Well, I was doing property management over COVID. And during COVID, I got sick. I was diagnosed with lupus.
Yeah.
And so I was, I couldn't go to the office and work because I was immunocompromised. Mm-hmm. And so, while I was working at home for a little bit, I was also working on the house. And, me and my friends, we were, always dabbling into the idea of getting into real estate, getting our license. And as I was working on the house, I was like, I'd like to take my life to the next level. How could I transition from property management to real estate? So I studied, and I knew that the idea of helping people buy a home excited me. Mm-hmm. And just forming my own business that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how I got into real estate. So
how long have you been in real estate now?
I got licensed March of 2022, so I'm entering to my third year.
Okay. And that was like right around when COVID was about ending, right? Mm-hmm. What do you see as the biggest difference between when you first started to now?
Well, I think that the market is... Right now, we're in the winter time. It's January. Mm-hmm. So what I'm seeing right now is people getting back into the market now that the holidays are over. I think from when I first started out, I would see like, I wouldn't say it's like much of a change. Mm-hmm. There's a low inventory still.
Still low, yeah, definitely low inventory.
So
rates have gone up.
Yeah. I think that buyers are still experiencing some frustration because they're not finding what they want, especially in their price ranges. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's still the same in my experience.
Yeah. Being in property management side of real estate, and then now you're selling like retail, mm-hmm. What is some similarities and what are some differences? Like clientele-wise and...
Well, property management and, helping people find a home. My clients are not just like first-time home buyers, but they're people who are transplants, moving to Washington, or they're brand new to the area. Mm-hmm. So similar to when I was doing property management, I would, work downtown in luxury high-rises, and those are people who are just moving to Washington. So, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think your advantages are of being born and raised in Seattle?
Knowing the area, knowing like, okay, what you should watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to be careful in certain areas of Beacon Hill and West Seattle.
Yeah. And what's going on, like what are nice, amenities, basically catering to like what their lifestyle is, what they like. And then going off of like, okay, well, if you like to do a certain thing, this area might be better suited for your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Just familiarity helps find my clients.
I think that, a lot of people are moving to Washington because especially from like California, right? Because the cost of homes, you can still find a great job because we're I feel like the second big tech hub, second to Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. But the home prices are much cheaper here than it is in California. And so I feel like with all this influx of people moving into Washington, it's important to know the different areas, right? Because, like, for example, living in Bellevue is completely different from living in Seattle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now that people, especially like the tech, like Amazon, they're all going back to the office, it's changing their lifestyle.
So growing up, what were the things that you were into?
Growing up, I was heavily into the performing arts for, I would say, 10 years. I think it was 10 years. Yeah.
Performing arts.
Yeah. From age 8 to 18, I was involved with the Filipino Youth Activities drill team. They were very big back then, especially during my dad's generation. Mm-hmm. Where we would just perform all over town in Seattle. You know, the Pride Parade, Torchlight, Seafair Torchlight Parade, at the Seattle Center. And so, I mean, growing up, besides going to school, every weekend I would just practice and perform.
Yeah. Every time I think about Filipinos, I think about Joe Coy, and he always talks about how every Filipino knows how to sing and dance, and it's so true. It's so true.
It is. I mean, like, Filipinos, when it comes to music and
super
just
talented,
performing, yeah, I mean, I don't know a single Filipino who isn't into that.
Yeah. How has your upbringing helped you in your real estate career?
Well, I think that having a performing like arts background, just having that experience being in front of people at such a young age, it really helps me feel more comfortable like talking to people. But also I'm a social person, so I naturally like to talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the Filipino community is very tight knit. And, you know, it's amazing what they've done here in Washington, especially with the community center.
Yeah, the Filipino Community Center has a lot of great, you know, events and resources for the community. And I mean, a little background about me, my grandma, my late grandma, my dad's mom used to be a Filipino war bride. So one of the, I would say the first members of the community center growing up. So because of that, I was already in that. I was always, I pretty much grew up in the community center. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know how you got into lending. Like, what's your backstory?
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, like, my favorite subject in school was math.
Okay.
You know, just like every other Asian, right? But I've always, you know, like, numbers is like a second nature to me. But after graduating from high school, I went to University of Washington. I got a degree in economics. And so with that degree, it's like, what do you do, right? And so the first job I got was, I worked for Safeco Investments at the time.
Okay.
And I was working mortgage part-time. And so at the time, this is 03-ish, 03, yeah, where the requirements for being a mortgage loan officer was very minimal. Like, you didn't even need to take a test. You could just,
really?
Yeah, really. Like, you wake up one day, you could just say, hey, I'm a loan officer. And I remember it was like the rise and the fall of the mortgage industry, because it was too lax, right? The requirements to become a mortgage officer was super easy. To get a loan was super easy. Back then we had these, they called them ninja loans. So stated income, stated assets, anyone could basically get a loan. You just need a heartbeat.
Oh.
And so then the market crashed, and then it got super strict. You know, it went from you wake up one day to now you have to take a test. Now you got to do continuing education. There's background checks, fingerprinting. And I think that was really needed for our industry as a whole, because of all the corruption that was going on during that time period. I mean, we heard some crazy stories about how income documents and asset documents were fabricated. You know, like, it happened pretty frequently. I've heard of a lot of these instances where top producers ended up in prison. And so
Wow.
fast forward now, it's like the mortgage industry has changed significantly. You know, it's not about just who can offer just best rates, right? Because there's so much more to the home buying process than just what the rate is. Nowadays with as interest rates keep rising and they fluctuate, go up and down, and the way people are paid, like for example, RSU, restricted stock units, that's how tech employees get paid.
They do,
and that's what the majority of our buyers are. This is, this is something new in the past, 5 years, 7 years. So the banks have always been it's been fluctuating how they calculate. First, they got super conservative about it, then they got super generous about it. Now it's like kind of a medium, but that is a big factor in how much you can qualify for, because for majority of tech employees, half their income is restricted stock units.
I do have clients who do use their RSUs when purchasing their home. So,
yeah, and that's why it's why you need to talk to a professional loan officer to break down those income figures, because you never want to be in a situation where you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in earnest money. And I think this market in the spring will turn into like another frenzy market where people will start waiving contingencies, and one of the first ones is finance contingency.
I agree. I mean, we're seeing that already in the East Side.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you see the market going for 2025?
Well, I mean, right now, I was taking a look at the MLS. There's a lot of listings that are expired, but usually in springtime, because everything is blooming, looking nice, I anticipate that more listings are going to hit the market, more competition with buyers, and yeah, it's going to be a busy season for us.
Yeah, and I think it's so funny when I hear about people saying that they're going to wait for the market to come back down or crash, because where are the facts? Where are the facts that why would the market go down, especially in the Seattle market? It's a simple like supply and demand, right? We just don't have enough homes in Washington to support the demand, and so there's no reason why we would have a housing crash. Are you hearing that from your buyers?
I just know that my clients are frustrated with the amount of inventory, and one way that me and my team, we help them find more inventories off market. Not a lot of agents do off market.
Yeah,
that's what we specialize in, and so but they're only exclusive to our clients.
Right.
But it helps them out because, we do work with sellers who are looking to sell their home off market to avoid the hassle and disruptions of the listing process, the open houses, the staging.
Yeah.
But it's the same process as buying it on market. So not a lot of people know about that.
Yeah, for the viewers out there who don't know what off market is, what is the difference between off market and something that goes on?
Off market is pretty much a property that's not listed on the Northwest MLS. So available to the public.
So will you see the off-market deals on Zillow and Redfin?
No, definitely not.
You have to talk to Keanna.
Reach out to me, my team. We can help you out off-market.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the rezoning, ADUs and DADUs. Like, because Seattle is one of the most liberal out of all the cities here in Washington.
Very.
They're like the first ones to kind of take the jump. And we're seeing tons of that in the California market. What are you seeing in West Seattle, Beacon Hill?
I'm part of WARI, the Washington Real Estate Investing Group on Facebook. And it's very popular right now. It's very common among investors where they're finding a lot that has, at least 4,000 square feet. And depending on if the home is situated in the front or back and there's space, especially with an alley where you can build a DADU, which stands for Detached Accessory Dwelling Unit. People are subdividing the lot, selling it off, or just using it as they'll hold it, they'll build, and then use it as rental income.
Yeah. I was at a continuing education class, and they're talking about condo minimizing.
Yes.
Single family residence where they built an ADU and then a detached, and then to sell it for more profit, they condominiumized it to sell them individually versus all together.
Well, there's talks about with the new zoning changes where you could potentially build up to 6 units now on a lot instead of 4 units.
Which is game changer.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I think that in Seattle, it helps increase inventory. I think that in my experience, when I'm talking to my buyer clients, it's interesting how the Dadu is very popular, but what I'm hearing from my clients is they are more into the resale homes, not necessarily like the new construction homes because of the floor plans. Because,
bigger lots too.
Bigger lots, but while the Dadus are really nice, they're new, they're fresh. Sometimes it depends on the floor plan. So I feel that if a builder's out there listening to this, what I'm hearing from my clients is they appreciate the newness, but it's the floor plan that really matters to them. So if you want to sell a home, it's the floor plan. They don't want narrow, multiple story floor plans. They want more space in their living room or in the bedrooms.
Yeah, but for the builders, it's all about profitability, right? And so they it's hard to build out. You got to build up, right?
And parking too is a big thing in Seattle. So there's just a lot of factors.
What are some things that your clients are asking for or, have questions about in the recent markets?
They are curious to know more about the Covenant Home Ownership Program.
Yes.
Can you tell them a little bit more about that?
Well, not to get too deep into it, it's basically a grant for certain demographics. They will get basically a down payment assistance program at 0% interest. And so what's great about it, we do have some other down payment assistance program. This is specific to minorities, which is something that, I'm a believer in, it's when people talk about discrimination, it's happened in the state of Washington, like the camps for the Japanese during the World War period. You hear about a lot of these horror stories where people get their property taken away and they never get it back. So I think this is an attempt. I think there'll be a couple different versions of it.
Oh yeah.
Because there's, I believe there's a pending lawsuit right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so.
Oh whoa.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think there'll be some other programs. I mean, we have some of our own programs in-house that help out with down payment and closing cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the qualifications for this program?
Oh, I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my head because
that's fine.
it's certain
that's
demographics.
Fine. Yeah.
And,
okay.
But.
Well, so if you'd like to learn more about this program, feel free to reach out to me or Peter. We can send you more information.
Keanna, thanks so much for coming on. I learned a lot about you and, the Beacon Hill, West Seattle market. You're the go-to person for sure.
I love those 2 areas. So if you want to know anything about West Seattle or Beacon Hill, please reach out.